What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Happy Thursday. First and foremost, if you see any scam ads on this video, please do not participate in those. All right, I wanted to hop into a couple of news articles real quick, and then I wanted to get into where I potentially think that this market is right now. We know that we see a lot of red in the marketplace today. All right, former Ripple board member tapped to lead Biden's Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. If you're not aware, the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, is essentially the head banking regulator. The head of the OCC is the head banking regulator in the United States. Now, this isn't an exactly true article. This is from CoinDesk. You always have to vet these things out. This is saying that former Treasury official Michael Barr is reportedly among several people. So yeah, that's correct. Being considered. It's not several people. If you look at the Wall Street Journal article, and this is actually from Politico right now, this is law professor Mesra Baradahar. I'm definitely going to pronounce her name. Baradaran and former Treasury Department official Michael Barr are leading contenders to head the OCC. Now, we know the gentleman that just left the OCC is Brian Brooks. He went over from Coinbase, obviously the digital asset exchange, and has made many different innovative type announcements at the OCC over the past, I would say, 9 months, 10 months at this point in time. He started in May of 2020, essentially that banks can custody cryptocurrency, as well as fintechs being able to hold national banking charters. Moving on, I wanted to touch base on this. Digital Easter egg in new Biden White House website has job invitation for tech workers. Now, this is in the HTML code that was on whitehouse.gov, and this says, if you are reading this, we need your help building back better. And this is from, I believe, this U.S. Digital Service. Yeah. So pay attention to that. I mean, it's just more of the same. Same thing, the original article from Politico. Now, this is what I wanted to make this video about, though. Total crypto market capitalization and volume in dollars. And I'm trying to potentially figure out where we may be in this market, okay? This is 2017, late 2017, early 2018. Now, we fast forward to now, right? We've got the 21 EMA, we've got the 50 EMA. The 21 EMA is yellow, the 50 EMA is this bluish gray or whatever you would want to call that color. I'm colorblind. We essentially had this pennant formed, and if I zoom into this, you can obviously see that we broke to the downside here. Now, obviously, the 21 EMA is going to act as resistance at this point in time. Hopefully, the 50 EMA on the daily will act as support. This is for crypto total market cap. But what's interesting is if you look back in the past, and I try to look at various different metrics to see where we may potentially be. And if you look back in the past here, this is September. Okay, so here's our cross, right? Essentially our cross, where the 21 EMA crosses above the 50, which is obviously bullish. Now, if we look back in September of 2017, we had a similar thing happen here. We rode against the 21 EMA, we broke through it. We broke back above it, we broke down below it. Then we actually broke down below the 50 EMA and held it as resistance. So if I put that into, some sort of a perspective as far as where we're actually at today, we would be looking at this on the daily. So we broke this pennant to the downside. I would very much so imagine that we spend some more days battling. Maybe we battle back up to the pennant. Maybe we battle back up to the 21 EMA on the daily. But maybe something similar happens. Right now, this 50 EMA is sitting right at $808 billion. So, right now, the total crypto market cap is at $930 billion. So we may potentially see some more losses. Now, don't get too scared about that. We've seen similar things in the past. What I would start to be concerned about is this, all right? We start to see things like weekly closes below this EMA, because we haven't seen that at all in total crypto market cap. So I'm going all the way back to May of 2017. We've never had a candle close below The 21 EMA on the weekly for the total, and I'm talking total crypto market cap, all of cryptocurrency. Every single candle has ridden above it, all right, on the weekly. Now, right now, we are sitting far above that, obviously. 621 billion is the top on the weekly there. And I certainly think, too, that if we try to take where we're at right now, September of 2017, just so you guys know, is right here. So, you know, I still think that we have much more room up. I think that this is very much so a shakeout. I'm curious to see where this goes. Now, if you look at Bitcoin, it's interesting as well. We also broke down from this pennant. Now, this is the BLX on Bitcoin, which is a little bit behind the daily updates, but this is one of the, I believe this is the longest term chart on Bitcoin. This goes very, very far back. Can even pull it up on the monthly here. And this thing goes all the way back to 2010. So you can see that the long-term trend here for Bitcoin, right? This looks like it's logarithmic at this point. You can, if you're not aware, you can go on TradingView and switch from auto to log. So I'm at logarithmic right now. And, you know, we look at our long-term trend here. Obviously still intact. Obviously, if we dip below, I mean, I'm looking at the monthly is not going to really tell you anything, but let's look at something more current, though. I'm going to see Bitcoin here. I still got the BLX. If you look at BTC, USD on like Bitstamp, certain things like that, you can see that we certainly broke below that pennant, which I had pulled up at some point here. Yeah, and this is on the weekly, so it doesn't look right. But yeah, here's our daily. We can see we broke below here, obviously. Like I said before, I think that the 21 week or the 21 EMA is going to be acting as resistance at this point in time. But we've seen similar things happen in the past. And unfortunately, Bitcoin still very much so dictates this market. I've seen many people state, and these are just when we broke all-time highs, by the way. Broke all-time high, these horizontal lines. I've seen many people say that we're maybe in this June move. Maybe we're in this September move back in 2017. So, you know, if we just take that, for example, on Bitcoin standpoint, you know, if we're in the June move and take this into account as well, not, you know, to the top, we were looking at, you know, 9x on Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin right now is sitting right around $30,000. 9 times $30,000, obviously 270 grand. I don't think that Bitcoin gets to 270 grand because after every one of Bitcoin's cycles, it loses a little bit of power. We can look all the way back at total crypto capitalization for when this thing started here. And I believe that this goes all the way back to like 2011, 2012. And every cycle, we've lost a little bit of power to the upside. Now, the last cycle we hit, you know, 762. I think it was like closer to like $840 billion in crypto. But the one before that was drastically lower. And I mean like drastically lower. So do I think that this bull market ends at 1.15 trillion? No, I certainly don't. I do think this is a little bit of a shakeout. Touching base on XRP real quick here. I've been talking about this for a while now. I have been watching and eyeing this bottom trend line here. And generally, just so you guys know, and I am not a technical analyst whatsoever. I try to look at very, very simple things. You've got certain time frames on here. You've got the 1 hour, you got the 4 hour, you got the daily, you got the weekly. A lot of these are kind of irrelevant to me because I'm not a day trader. I will look at the daily, I will look at the weekly. Every time you go up in a time frame, if I go to the 4 hour, it is, let's say the 4 hour is a 1 to 10 as far as being powerful. You go up to the daily, it's a 5 to 10. You go up to the weekly, it's an 8 out of 10. You go up to the monthly, it's a 9 out of 10. You go up to the yearly, it's a 10 out of 10. You look at things from a power level on these things. I look for long-term trends and try to invest accordingly if I can. This is on the daily, a longer-term trend for XRP. We can see very much so. We have never broken a candle. If you can draw this different ways. Did we even close below that? We didn't even close a candle below on the weekly, this bottom trend line here. So I'm watching this bottom trend line like a hawk right now. If I were to take it this week, we're looking at like 22 cents as the bottom trend line. If we break below, I become a little bit concerned. If we get to this trend line, it becomes potentially a buying opportunity for me as well. Look at something like Ethereum. This is Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and I believe that markets are cyclic and will certainly somewhat, repeat in the past. We can see that Ethereum on its long-term trend has made a lower high against Bitcoin, a lower high, et cetera, et cetera. We may start to see higher lows, which we already, somewhat have against Bitcoin. And this may somewhat repeat here. I believe very much so, and this is not financial advice, that if you are looking to be a conservative investor into digital assets and look at some of the integrations that Ethereum has, regardless of utility right now, because it is still proof of work, you can research more into that. Gas fees are crazy high. I still think Bitcoin goes insanely high over the medium term. And if I was a conservative investor and not looking for things that were going to go up 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 1000x, potentially, Ethereum would be one of a handful of my main bets in this space. Just because I believe that there's a lot of power behind Ethereum. I believe that there is a lot of integration behind Ethereum from a partnership standpoint, et cetera, et cetera. So you may hate Ethereum right now. I certainly hate the gas fees. I think it's the opposite of utility. But that being said, if you're more conservative, let's say you're more of a traditional investor, I think that Ethereum would be a decent medium-term hold. I'm talking a few years to 5 years to 6 years. While paying attention to the news as well. That is not financial advice whatsoever. Another thing, looking at Vechain here. And what I'm trying to do right now, essentially, is I'm trying to look at different pairings for these digital assets. I've done it in the past. It was one of the ways, I said, H-bar Hedera hash graph. I'm watching it because it essentially was about to break out of a triangle and was about to attack certain things from different pairings standpoints as well. And that was at 3 cents. We know that H-bar went to 10 cents. This was probably 2 weeks ago. That is not financial advice. I'm not a technical analyst whatsoever. I'm trying to look at simple things. We can see Vechain versus Ethereum right here, essentially being held down by the 50 EMA since August of 2020. We tried to cross here back in December. And I've seen really similar things in some of these other digital assets here, that it gets one false attempt to cross and then a potential breakthrough. So I would be watching that. And what this means essentially is that Vechain is gaining power against what Vechain is worth against Ethereum. So if it breaks this trend, Vechain will gain some ground on Ethereum's foothold from a dominant standpoint. Now, also looking at something like Vechain versus Bitcoin. Okay, this is interesting as well. We can see that Vechain broke above the 21 EMA, broke above the 50 EMA on Bitcoin. And then Vechain and Tether, this is USD. Sometimes you have to look at Tether. And again, I'm not an analyst. I'm just trying to share a little bit of stuff that I'm looking at with you guys. Maybe you see similar things, maybe you don't. We get this false one right here, and then we get the second one. This is in August 2020. We broke above. We obviously held above the 50 EMA with the 21 EMA. And so now we're rising again. So I'm watching this Vechain Ethereum pair very much so here. I hold Ethereum, not financial advice. And we'll see where this goes as well. Now, if I start to see, and again, when you try to do this, like I'm just really like, I do this a lot with like certain pairs, especially really low caps that only have like the liquidity pair that's like based on Ethereum. So I'll do things versus Ethereum if it's just that. But then really when you get into like some of the larger caps, you really have to take Bitcoin into account. You have to, in my opinion, some people differ on that opinion, and you have to take Tether into account as well. But I look at these as like kind of just like additions to like, ingredients that are going into like a cake or something like that. Like, if I don't have certain ingredients, the cake isn't going to be as good as I want it to be, right? So if my pairings are all turning bullish, in my opinion, and this is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor or a technical analyst, then essentially that means that I have a potential for a little bit of a stronger outcome here. Now, if these things start to turn bearish and they turn bearish across the board, it's the opposite, right? And again, the time frames, in my opinion, are very important. If you see something turn bearish on the 4-hour chart, and if you choose to start looking into some of this, obviously that may lead to some implications on the daily chart. And if you see things turn daily on the 4-hour and then the daily as well, that may you know, the 3-day, the 2-day, the 3-day, and then up to the weekly, and then the monthly, and you can go from there. You kind of get what I'm saying here. Simple. This is kind of how I said I was watching H-bar here. This was a longer term trend that H-bar held. This is their hash graph, and pretty easy to see. I can't remember when I said this, but I said I was watching H-bar right when we broke back into this. I guess you could call it a pennant or a triangle, whatever you want to call it. Or it's more of a triangle. And yeah, we saw the moving averages start going extremely bullish. We broke above long-term resistance that had been held since on the daily since September 2019. And yeah, it was pretty clear, cut and dry to see what happened. I'm trying to use these as some metrics for Patreon. Some of the coins that I'm looking into a little bit. It's hard to, it's almost impossible to chart. It is impossible to chart new coins. You have no idea what's going to happen. This is the BLX for Bitcoin. Like I said, the longest chart, the oldest chart, I should say. And, you know, we see similar things here. We have just now essentially holding this 21 EMA as support, but we've wicked below twice recently. And, you know, it's chipping away at it a little bit. Now, if we look back, and again, this is on the daily, if we're in these moves from, you know, let's say May or maybe September 2017, I would expect us to potentially wick down on the daily all the way down to the 50 EMA, which is this, you know, this blue, gray, green line or whatever it is. I'm colorblind. It will be probably risen up a little bit by then. So maybe right around $29,000, $30,000, something like that. And maybe potentially even break below it. And then, you know, what we don't want to see though, what we really don't want to see in Bitcoin, because make no mistake about it, Bitcoin drives this market, is something like candle closing below the 21 EMA on the weekly. Okay, that means bad news for Bitcoin. And you know, I've gotten a lot of these tips, and I'm not. There's another thing that you could watch. Crypto Crew University does a fantastic job. I started watching his videos 2.5 years ago. There's another thing that he's been watching, multiple things, but a lot of this stuff, and I'm trying not to directly like steal stuff from him. I'm trying to use what I've learned from different people, even Blockchain Backer, and potentially applying that to certain things, regardless of what that may be. But I certainly don't want to steal information from other people as well. Now, I know Crypto Crew University has called out multiple things in this space. He's gotten a couple of things minorly wrong, but everybody gets things wrong occasionally, right? But he called out the bottom of Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not affiliated with him in any way. But yeah, we don't want to see a weekly candle close below the 21 EMA, certainly. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I am watching this long term. I do not think that this is the end of the bull run because we have not seen a parabolic cycle yet. And if you go over, I'll actually link Crypto Crew University down below this. He offers courses. I do not take the courses. I just watch his videos. And I've watched long enough to hopefully pick up a couple of things. Maybe I screw up. I'm sure I screw up sometimes, but it is what it is. You know, we try to learn. Like, my money generally goes towards investing in this space, but I'm not a trader either. If I was planning on trading this space, I would do something different. Now, when I say I'm not a trader, I'm not a day trader. When I get into certain things that are new, if I see something concerning to me, I will get out, and I will get out in a heartbeat. I think most of us can admit that we've become emotionally attached to certain digital assets. I do not want to become emotionally attached to anything else I invest in this in this space. So this is where I am right now. I will certainly be doing deep dives still on this channel whenever news presents itself or whenever I find connections to do that. But I don't want to connect dots that just aren't there. And there is so much opportunity still in this space. And I believe that over the course of the next few weeks, maybe to a month and a half at the most, we are going to have major opportunities before what I would consider to be the real ramping up of this market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't, that's fine. If you did, like and subscribe. If you want to check out Patreon, great. If not, fantastic. And I will see you tomorrow if there is news to present. Later.